Welcome to Storytime at the Rubus, a weekly podcast about the Bonnaroo Music and Arts Festival. I'm your host, Sharla.
And I'm Daniel.
So what's been going on with you, Daniel?
Well, we've been trying to chill a little bit because I think starting this weekend, we're going to be somewhere pretty much every weekend for forever.
Right, until Bonnaroo, pretty much.
Yeah, it feels like it. Wow, things are really sneaking up.
It is 2 months until Bonnaroo.
Less than 2 months, really.
Less than 2 months until Bonnaroo.
But yeah, me and you are going to Atlanta this weekend. We're going to go hang with our buddy Andrew for a minute. We're going to go to a Braves game and some stuff. Next weekend, we have a fun thing coming up. I guess we can talk about it another time, but we're going to be in Montgomery. I'm taking Charlotte to something she's been dying to go to for years. Talk about that next week. And then, yeah, stuff's really going to sneak up. Brooklyn and I are going to go see Goth Babe in Nashville. I'm meeting some buddies to go see Pond in Nashville. And then we've got King Gizzard coming up. Me and you are going to go see Dead and Company in Atlanta.
Yes.
I think we're meeting some friends at that one as well. But things are really going to go fast, and Rue is going to be here before you know it. Have you been getting ready?
A little bit. Not as much as I should be getting ready.
Well, tell me what you have done.
I have not been getting my stamina up as much as I should be getting my stamina up.
Oh, that's a good thing to talk about. You need to work on that because everybody else needs to be following your lead on that, right?
Right. And I did it last year. And the reason I was able to do it last year is because I had a work-at-home job. This year, I have been in an office for 8, 9, even 10 hours a day. So I haven't been able to really get out and walk like I did last year. I haven't been able to go to a gym before or after work. So it's just been difficult for me. And a lot of people, I did put it out on Twitter the other day, and a lot of people gave me some really good tips, like just parking farther away, taking the stairs every day versus the elevator. And, that was really helpful. But I just feel like my stamina is going to be really off this year. So I really need to start working on that now.
Well, you've got to put it in the work. I'm going to tell you right now, she doesn't know I'm going to tell her this. I think after we get done recording this, you should go ahead and take a walk. It's 60 degrees. It's a little cool. It's getting dark, but you can do it. Like, we have a pretty good neighborhood where you can take a walk down to the end of the street. You can get you in a quarter of a mile. You can do it.
He says that, but I'm so tired because I got up at 5:30 this morning.
Well, I know that sucks. That does suck, but you got to start somewhere.
I know. You're right.
So I think after we record this, if you're listening, mentally tell her, Charlie, you need to get in your walk.
You're right.
Don't you think?
You're right.
I'm going to encourage you along. Because I want you to keep up with me once we get there. I want to be all over the place, especially that Saturday night.
I don't have to keep up with you, though.
Oh, okay. I'm just saying I want you to, if you can.
I know.
Yeah. Again, this is what you hear when you're hanging out with a married couple.
Right.
All right. How are things going with the bus? What are your plans there?
Fantastic. I think we are right on schedule with the bus. There is one other thing I'd like to do to it, but I don't know if we'll have time, but it's
well, what is that? What do you want to do?
The back window that we did replace a couple years ago. I'd like to replace it again just because dirt has gotten in between the panel, and it's hard. You can't really get in there and clean it out. So I'd like to replace that again. I don't know if we'll have time, and I think it's fine if we don't, but either way.
I think it's fine because I really want to get that basketball goal. I don't think I've talked about this on the podcast,
No, you
have
haven't.
I?
No.
All right, so this is a stretch goal that I want to do if I can get away with it. I want to find an old basketball goal, like if someone's throwing out one in our neighborhood, or maybe if your brother Cody can find one for us. I want to get it and get him to help me mount it to the back of the bus, and I'm going to put some meme thing with Shaq on the backboard in hopes of luring him over to get him to come shoot ball with us.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, that's likely not to happen, but it would be fun to have that. It would be fun to have a basketball goal for us and friends to play around with since, Shaq is there as Diesel.
Just to have a basketball goal on it would be fun.
Yeah, so if anybody in the Huntsville area has one that you want to get rid of, let me know because I want to mount it to the back of the bus. It would be fun to play with friends or maybe even Shaq. But yeah, things are going well. I got on top of the bus the other day and pressure washed it. I'll probably have to do that again a week or two before June, the third weekend in June. I got to put a little bit more paint around there, but yeah, we're pretty much ready to go. I'm going to charge up the battery and take it for a test drive around the neighborhood probably this week or next. You want to help me out with that?
Sure.
Anything else you want to tell everybody? What else? Charlotte is literally looking up basketball goals on Facebook Marketplace right now.
Here's one for $50. But that's like the whole thing.
Yeah, well, I just need like the backboard and the hoop, really. We can figure this out. Yeah, if anybody has a basketball goal, let me know. We're going to put it to the bus.
Okay, but enough about that. I think we have a bigger announcement.
Oh, we do. Shaq would be fun, but we do have something fun to talk about. So get this. I have to wait about a month until I can announce a lot of specifics, but I got something fun for you guys. there is going to be a little bit of a change in venue for our Wednesday party. So I understand that things are going to be a little bit different in the group area this year, and it might not be able to necessarily accommodate the giant crowd that we're expecting on Wednesday for somebody that I think you have already heard about. So here's the deal. Bonnaroo has been very kind to us to offer us Where in the Woods. So we're going to be opening Where in the Woods on Wednesday of Bonnaroo from 3 to 5 p.m. So we actually kind of sort of did look into parking the bus over there, but it just wasn't going to work out in terms of space. So every other event is going to be at the bus or the tent across the road from it in the group area. But our big event with Wanda and someone that you will see when you are there is going to be from 3 to 5 p.m. on Wednesday at Where in the Woods. So plan on coming over there with us. My understanding is that we're going to have the run of the place. So the Rubus and crew is going to open that up Wednesday, and I am so ridiculously excited.
Oh, yes, it is amazing. I cannot wait for this.
Yeah, and Bonnaroo has been a big help to us because now we have access to like all the production support that they can offer us over at Where in the Woods. My understanding is it's going to be pretty similar to the way it was last year. So there's going to be like the big disco ball that kind of looks like, you know, Daft Punk should be inside it or whatever. So, I mean, that might be a little weird for Wanda. You know, Wanda, I think she will be the first acoustic performance ever at Where in the Woods.
Someone mentioned that. Someone asked if she would be the first non-DJ or non-EDM or something.
As far as I know, she will be.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so she's going to open up for us for a little bit, and we have some other fun stuff. And then we have an act that I can't say about, but you probably know about. Please come hang out with us. Again, it'll be Wednesday from 3 to 5 and Where in the Woods. There will be more information soon. Speaking of EDM, that's kind of what we're talking about this week, right?
Yes.
So we got a couple of guests on that we're going to get to in just a moment. I had a gaggle of Daniels join us on a Zoom call to talk more about EDM. It isn't necessarily a blind spot for us. I don't know about you, Sharla, but it's something that I wanted to get more expert opinion on.
Right,
so like,
exactly.
If you like Griz, you should go see this artist. If you like Odesza, you should go see this. They gave us a lot of great recommendations. We're going to get to that in just a moment. But first, you got to list off our Patreons.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, I'm so excited about our Patreons. And as you guys know, 80% of everything that we earn on Patreon does go to the Bonnaroo Works Fund, which is a fabulous, fabulous, fabulous organization that does such good work.
They're fabulous.
Yes. And the other 20% goes to fun stuff.
Yeah, it will. And after you list the names, I'll tell everybody about that. I got some tea on that.
Okay, I'm just going to say the first names. Chris, Skylar, Daniel, Shaunaru, Ernst, Jordan, Bill, Harris, Brian, Keith, Casey, Clorose, Andrew, Dave, Amanda, Aaron, Nick, Maddie, Sean, McFerg, Bruce, John, Kent, Michael, Randy, Joshua, Madison, Scott, Greg, Eric and Ben, Kristen, Natalie, Beyond the Hypnotic.
Did you know that's Jace?
That's Jace.
Did you know that's Jace?
Evan, Jay, Chloe, and Sean.
Thank you, everybody. Hey, Sharla, I'm going to give you some homework. Can you find out how much we have in the PayPal account? We'll tell everybody when we come back from our interview with the two Daniels.
Yes, I will.
All right, so we will have that after the break. I did have some tea. We've been talking with our Patreons. We had a call the other day and have been talking on the private Patreon boards about what we're going to spend that money on. It looks like we're going to have wristbands again this year. Cool. And it looks like, I might be spoiling something, but it looks like we are going to have a mimosa bar for everybody to come get a drink. Yeah, so I will have to wait till later to tell you about that.
We'll
but
figure it out.
Yeah, put 2 and 2 together there, guys. Yeah. All right, so more information to come. But in the meantime, you can go to patreon.com/Rubus for more information on that. When we come back from an interview in a moment, Charlotte's going to find out how much we have sitting in the PayPal. So we know how much we're going to have to play with to give to the Works Fund and how much we'll have for the party and everything. All right. So in the meantime, we are going to get to my interview with the two Daniels from Georgia. One of the Daniels, Daniel K., is the guy that puts together the Artist of the Day thing on the Bonnaroo Reddit. He does a wonderful job with that. He's been doing that for a couple of years, apparently. And we have both of them on to talk about a deep dive into the EDM this year. So what do you think we jump into that, babe?
Absolutely.
What's up? I just got one
All right, everyone, this is going to get weird, and you're going to understand why in just a moment. But I'm going to have my guests introduce themselves. Let's start with the first Daniel. That's Daniel H, another Daniel H.
Hey guys, I'm Daniel Haskett. I live in Athens, Georgia. Just turned 30 years old. I'm a school psychologist.
And we've got another Daniel here.
Hey, I'm Daniel Karasik. I do the Artist of the Day post for the subreddit. I'm a data engineer that works in Atlanta.
Nice. We got a couple of Georgia boys here tonight. I'm going to watch the Braves game along with you here in a couple hours. They're out in San Diego tonight. This is going to get weird because we're going to have to get the OnlyDans group together at some point at Bonnaroo this year. We either have to take seductive photos together or fight. Which is it going to be?
Seductive photos.
I'd say seductive photos is probably the way to go.
Okay, I like that better. We were discussing before we started recording that, there was another group of guys that had the same name, and they were going to plan to have a big fight, and the one that wins gets to walk away with the name. But I think the OnlyDans photo shoot is the way to go here, guys.
Oh, for sure.
Got you guys on to talk a little about EDM. We haven't really dug into that because, while I enjoy going to the other and a lot of these shows, it's not really my genre. I think there are others that can speak better to it. And I think that might be you two guys. So can you tell me a little bit about your history with going to these EDM shows?
Do you want to start, Daniel?
I guess. So, yeah, take a crack at this. So I've been to 39 festivals so far in my life. I think 15 of them have been EDM festivals, give or take, or heavily leaning towards EDM. So I've been to a lot of different vibes for it. So I've been to a bass festival up in Delaware. It's called Hijink, or up in Philly, sorry. It's called Hijinks. Been to, they have Imagine here in Atlanta, or just outside of Atlanta, which is a classic one. There's just a handful in between there. It's a fun vibe, I guess. If you want to describe EDM music to people, it's really very vibey music, and you can go for different kind of vibes you want. If you want very wonky, heavy on the bass, go to a bass festival like Lost Lands, what have you, Hijinks up in Philly. If you want something that's more it's if you want something more blended, I guess you go to Imagine, as I said earlier, here outside of Atlanta. You have Resonate that just happened down in Florida. I'm sure Haskett's gonna talk about. That's again, it's more of a vibey. I don't know how you describe it. STS9 plays 4 sets there, so it's very much sort of kind of jam band EDM vibes. Haskett will probably tell you more. It's sort of hard to describe certain feelings you're going for with with a festival like that. But I think EDM is just more about having fun and just dancing all the time. So
I really got into electronic music at a young age. I do have ADHD, and higher beats per minute, usually for people with ADHD, it kind of helps them concentrate in a way. So at first, that's kind of how it started out with me, that it was just a lot of electronic music in the background, studying in high school and college. I didn't really start going to festivals until I met my now wife, and who was my girlfriend at the time. Went to Bonnaroo for the first time in 2017. I also went to Electric Forest that year. I haven't been back since, but I did really enjoy that. They had a gap of separation that year because there were 2 weekends of Electric Forest. It made it more feasible. But now just doing the back-to-back, it just seems like a lot. So with Bonnaroo being my home festival, I haven't been back since then. I went to Imagine for the first time last year, and I just recently went to Resonate, which is less of the dubstep and more of the chiller electronic music. But I've definitely gotten more into the scene and gone to more and more festivals as the years have gone on.
So you guys got a pretty good background in this stuff, so you're going to be more educated than I am when it comes to the EDM at Rue this year. So before we dive into that, anything else that you want to add?
I mean, I'd say this year for Brew, it's interesting with I guess the EDM lineup they have, because it's more bass heavy, whereas last year was a lot more house, tech house. You have the 3-hour sunrise sets they did every night, so it's just an interesting shift that they're doing for the music. And me and Haskett have been interested to see, is it going to alternate every other year, right? So last year was house, this year is bass, would next year be house again, or are they going to go with a pattern for it? It's sort of very curious to see what happens.
Yeah, Daniel K., I'm interested in getting your feedback on that. It seems like these things tend to come and go. I noticed the house a lot last year, not only at Rue, but also at Okeechobee. And I heard a lot of drum and bass at Okeechobee this year. The late 90s are coming back all of a sudden. Why do you think stuff like that kind of comes in and out of fashion?
And that's a question right there. It's sort of weird, where I think it just as people grow up, they sort of like have that nostalgia for what they grew up in. And I think nowadays it's a lot of people having that 90s nostalgia where like when we were growing up, like say 10 years ago, everyone wanted their 80s parties and sort of bring back the 1980s in full gusto. And now it's just sort of shifting to the 90s, I think. And then, maybe 10, 15 years from now will be the early 2000s. And then, we'll see that full circle go. But it's really cool seeing that influence come like from like a lot of like drum and bass. I think like sort of maybe push towards having bass music.
All right. Tell us the dog's name. We got to know the dog's name.
All right, so it's my dog Faye. She's a German Shepherd Husky mix. So it's I take her for walks around Atlanta. I live downtown in Cabbagetown. So
Nice. Well, she had opinions on the lineup this year as well. So, all right, since she brought it up, let's go ahead and dig into some of the stuff that's going to be at Rue this year. Let's start with Thursday because I feel like having Zed's Dead and Liquid Stranger pretty much headline Thursday is a big deal. So, what can you guys tell me about what people can expect on Thursday night with those two?
I'll start with talking about Liquid Stranger. Liquid Stranger is really part of the Wakan label, and a lot of the artists within the Wakan label are kind of similar. A lot of it is very blubby and spacey. Some other similar artists to Liquid Stranger are LS Dream, Schlump, and Space Jesus, who's also been at Bonnaroo before. So really that's kind of that wubbier and spacier sound.
Okay, I'm into that. We saw LS Dream at Oki a couple months ago, and that was fantastic. So that's
LS Dream's one of my favorite artists. And to go back to Oki, also and how you brought up drum and bass, talk about they did a really good job with that because in the U.S. at most festivals you really just see a lot of house and a lot of bass music, but the fact that they had so much drum and bass music was really unique.
Yeah, it was really fascinating. It was different but similar enough to, I'm showing my age here, to what I grew up with in the late 90s. Yeah, let's move over to Zed's Dead. I'll tell you, I had listened to them a couple of years ago when they played Bonnaroo last time, and it sounds as if their sound is completely different from what I remembered. So can you tell me a bit about them?
Yeah, so they're sort of like Griz nowadays, where Griz is also very much like evolved in sound. And I love that for artists when they like just want to sort of branch out and do something different. So I think like with Zed's Dead, I've seen them a couple times in the 2010s, and it was like I would say it was like more pop heavy. It was definitely like on the bass side of things, but it wasn't like as like dubstep and just like hard as they go nowadays with shows. And so again, it's cool to see sort of that change, where if you were to compare like Liquid Stranger with Zed's Dead, I would more expect to hear like a Zed's Dead song on the radio than Liquid Stranger. I think they would lean more towards like the poppy side of things, but it's still definitely more like dubstep, like going hard music compared to like Liquid Stranger. It's on like the wubby, kind of that fluid bass sound, sort of like you're melting.
No, you've explained it perfectly. I think you've.
Yeah, I just like it's really like hard to describe it other than using just like very like colorful language like that. Where it's like very wubby music or like it feels like you're sort of melting kind of deal. But it does accurately describe that feeling you get when like you experience music.
It is tough to describe. It's like you're trying to explain color to someone who's never seen.
Yes,
that's true. Because I think like I would say for like dubstep or just heavy bass music in general, like first listening to it, you can put it through headphones and it's like it's an experience. You're like, okay, I can get into this. But then when you step into a room where like that's where like you're just enveloped in that bass, it's a lot different. And I can tell you, like, that's what really made me like fall in love with bass music was just going to like my first show that was like that, seeing like the vibes for it, seeing all the light shows, everything, and really just like feeling the music.
Good one. All right, so let's go to the next challenge. We're talking about stuff that's hard to describe. So Subtronics is another big name that a lot of people might not be that familiar with. How would you describe Subtronics to somebody who's never really listened to them?
I'll start. In this time I've been wrapping my mind around a way to describe Subtronics. Subtronics is one of my favorite artists, but I think he kind of has gotten to the point where he makes chaotic masterpieces. Like things that seem very like wild and everything going on, but at the same time, like all the sounds very much blends together to where it doesn't seem like an unnecessary amount of bass or forced bass or like overly exerting certain sounds. Like he's kind of mastered those sounds into something that's attainable even for people that don't like bass music. I have some friends that really don't like rhythm and don't like bass, but they have gone to Subtronics shows with me and they do like Subtronics as well. And we also have a friend who's very much into metal and doesn't really like a lot of electronic music, but he went to a Subtronics show and really loved Subtronics because there's some crossover between the metal community and Subtronics' sound as well.
That is really interesting. I kind of noticed that the past couple of years too. There's a little bit of a crossover. Daniel K, would you have anything to add to that, or does the dog have anything to add to that?
I mean, right? It's really super interesting with Subtronics because I saw him in 2019 in Philly for Hijinks. He was one of the opening acts. So it wasn't even like a headliner level or anywhere near there at that point. But he still put on like a really good show, and you can sort of see in his performance that this guy is going places. This guy like has that focus and has that drive. And it's just started following him on social media, and like the guy's a goofball. And what's cool about him in particular is he's engaged to another EDM artist, a DJ called Level Up. Who's also a personal favorite of mine. She puts on an amazing show as well. And so it's really cool seeing these like a power couple as it were in like bass music because they both put on phenomenal performances. Like they really like put their heart out into their music. And it's just again like very vulnerable people as well because they tend to like live their lives on social media to an extent and you really get to see like the process of how they make their music, the whole tour process and all that. And I like it a lot. Is sometimes you don't really get to see the human side of an artist. You only get to see them like behind a stage, as it were.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, it doesn't matter what genre it is. If somebody's putting themselves out there and is willing to have that conversation with fans, that really makes a big difference.
I also appreciate that they don't really do a lot of that. They don't, if any, don't do any collabs together. They really support each other, but their careers are very much separated, and they're supporting their careers and going their own direction. But they're really doing their own thing and paving their own way despite being together.
That is cool. All right, so you guys mentioned him already. I think another big name that a lot of people are looking forward to is Griz. We don't really have to describe Griz because everybody pretty much knows at this point. But I do want to hear from you guys. If somebody likes Griz, what's some other names on the lineup that you think that they would also like?
So I'll first start with talking about Griz 2010 to 2017 kind of era. If people liked that, and he's changed a lot after that, that's why at some of his sets he'll go back and play 2010 to 2017 sets because it was a very different sound. I think that if you want an artist that sounds like the earlier days of Griz, definitely check out Daily Bread.
Oh yeah, we saw Daily Bread down at Okeechobee, and man, that was a throwdown. I did not realize that he already had a massive following.
So Daily Bread has been in the scene in Atlanta for many years, and he's opened for a lot of acts, but he's just finally getting the recognition that he deserves with how great his music is.
He did tour recently, actually, with Late Night Radio, and I think it was the Floozies that was headlining. So I think that's what really like sort of brought him to the forefront, so getting in front of people.
Do you guys think that the comparison to Pretty Lights is a fair one for Daily Bread?
I would agree with that, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, that Pretty Lights, like him coming out, I guess like Pretty Lights coming out of retirement this year is just a whole separate thing, but that's crazy.
And that entire label kind of has that same sound. They just did a show in Athens with 9 different members of the label, and that whole sound is kind of that Pretty Lights sound, that Daily Bread sound. That kind of I would honestly call it a Southeast sound because a lot of the artists do come from the Southeast.
Like I've been told it's like electro soul if you want to put like a genre label to it, electro funk kind of things, because it has that like that funky R&B like groove to it, but it has an electronic element backing it. And it just, I mean, honestly, man, it just takes it to a whole other level. It's some really good music.
Let's get back to Griz. Daniel H., you were talking about kind of the second era of Griz. What would you say that sound is like, and what are some similar artists to the more recent era?
Yeah, I was gonna say, so there's been this like intermediate era where he was like sort of experimenting with other genres. And like a lot of people like are sort of muddled on that era, but like the more recent stuff has been, I would say, like Rainbow Brain and Onward, a lot more like bass heavy and like very like full on production for his shows, like high energy. Been bringing out I think like 3 or 4 vocalists for his tours, so it's a really fun show just to engage in. But on the bass side, I mean, it'd be like Zed's Dead would be something similar. You have like Boogie T. I would say Subtronics in a sense because they had worked together, Griz and Subtronics in the past, doing like a Griztronic set and just mixes together. I mean, what else would you say, Haskett?
I would add in Immersive. I would add in Not Low. To a certain extent, Opio does have some bassier music. It's less dubstep, but kind of some of that bass gets added in. And then an artist that I want to mention that Jesse, who is Subtronics, talks about a lot that's up and coming that'll be part of the Deadbeats Takeover is Imanu. Jesse talks a lot about Imanu, and a lot of the stuff that he's putting out has been very good recently.
All right, let's go to the big name that's on the lineup. Everybody knows Odesza already, but what would you give as recommendations if somebody has recently got into their sound?
I'll start off with definitely with Louis the Child and Big Wild, Sylvan Esso, and Daily Bread as some of those more accessible electronic artists that some people that might not like bass that they're more accessible to them and they have a unique sound. Big Wild is probably, if not the best, one of the top singers in the genre in terms of EDM as someone that performs live and vocals within his sets. And Sylvan Esso also does that as well. And then Louis the Child Louis the Child as a band is they kind of shift to their setting. So this last year at Halloween, they played at other festivals that are different vibes. They played different sets. So at Hangout last year, I heard that they played a more poppy, radio-friendly set where it was a lot different at Halloween last year.
Yeah, I've noticed that as well. We saw them years ago at the Voodoo Fest in New Orleans. And that's like a Halloween themed festival. So they came out as Rick and Morty and was playing a bunch of like more holiday themed for Halloween, kind of spooky sounding stuff, and we're a lot more goofy with it. So Daniel K, what would you suggest if somebody has gotten into Odesza and wants to hear something else?
So like there's a lot of names on the lineup. So I would say like some more like offbeat ones or ones that I say fit the same kind of vibe or same kind of mood Odesza has. I'm probably gonna butcher this name, but Jolie and Asia. It's a duo that does like it's sort of like vibey EDM kind of music, but these live instrumentals. It's like harps and pianos. It's very like it has the same like grain that Odesza has, where it's just something you can put on the background on a nice like lovely afternoon. I would say Jacob Collier as another like sort of offbeat one because nowadays he's been doing this like live orchestra thing with attendees in the audience, where he's been working with MIT to do some technology that I want to learn about it. It's really interesting what he does. He basically directs the audience into a chorus kind of like, song that he does, where they just sing different pitches, and he just like calls the different parts of the crowd to sing different pitches.
I've heard of this. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's the thing. So it's like when you think about it, it's like, all right, so there has to be some science or something to it. But I want to see if he pulls to that Bonnaroo, right, and see if he can like maybe like at one of the big stages of Which or What. If he gets one of those, or if he's in a tent, like how we can set that up and like see it live, that would be just an amazing moment. Bob Moses would be another one. Elderbrook, they're on like the EDM side of it, but I think they also hit that grain of Odesza. And then you have like Elephant Heart, I would say would be another one. They're more of like world EDM, but I think they also do hit that same kind of like thing you're looking for. Odesza is one of those hard ones though, because they bring out a drum line typically when they perform. And so you get like the beat mixing and stuff, by the actual EDM side of it, but then that full drumline production is just out of this world, man. It's honestly one of the coolest shows I've seen in my life.
Yeah, it's mind blowing for people who haven't seen them live. I can't stress enough what an almost like Broadway production it is when Odesza plays. I don't want to tell them too much because I don't want to spoil it. There's some amazing stuff that happens during that show.
Oh yeah, I mean, like that's the thing. You have to see them as like they're a headliner for Bonnaroo. That's a big deal, getting that slot. So they're gonna put on like one hell of a production. I mean, it's definitely something to check out.
If you're thinking about getting close, I would do it. I don't want to tell you why, but I would do it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So fun. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming on with me tonight. I have gotten a bit of an education. A lot of the acts that you mentioned weren't really ones that were on my radar. Daniel K, you mentioned two that are on my radar. I'm really loving Elderbrook. They kind of remind me of Rufus Du Sol just a little bit. And
Yes.
Elephant Heart has been right up my alley, man. I love that kind of world music vibe, so I'm definitely going to be at that show.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be a good one for sure.
Well, guys, we got to get together to take the photo. I think we have to make sure it's safe for work, but we'll see what we can do, right?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for jumping on with us tonight. We'll see you soon.
So thank you to the Daniels. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was. That's kind of weird because the Daniels was the guys that directed Everything Everywhere All at Once.
I thought about that right after I said it, like
Yeah.
immediately after I said it.
You can't get enough of the Daniel, the D.
Stop.
No. All right. So during the break, we did do a little tallying, and it looks like as of right now, we have $1,600. in the Patreon account.
Yes, about $1,600.
And if things are going like they are, that would get us to the $2,000 goal by June. Now that would be, the Works Fund gets 80% of that, so $1,600 and then $400 for our party from our Patreons.
Right. I really, really, really wanted to hit that $2,000, giving $2,000 to the Works Fund, doubling our donation from last year.
Possible, but I think that's nothing to sneeze at. And we really got to thank our Patreons for helping to make that happen, right?
Absolutely, of course.
Yeah, last year it was the biggest non-corporate donation.
Yes.
It will probably be again this year.
Yeah.
I mean, that's good competition, right? If there is somebody else making a big donation.
Unless someone else just comes in there.
Charlotte, next week I think you should list their whole names, not just their first names.
I will attempt to list the whole names.
All right.
Yes.
You got to do some research. You might have to ask a person or two how to pronounce it.
Okay, I'll ask Madison.
I was going to say.
Even though she's told me multiple times.
Well, we'll get it right.
Yes. Oh, hey, also, you know what we need to mention?
What's that?
Our contest.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So, if you didn't hear us last week, Bonnaroo is giving us 2 GA tickets to give away. And what we are asking people to do is send us an audio file telling us a story about how you made lifelong friends or community at Bonnaroo. Right, Sharla?
Yes, tell us all about the people that you have met at Bonnaroo. Throughout the years of going to Bonnaroo, who have you met? How have you been friends with them? How have you stayed in touch throughout the years? And you can actually send that audio file to therealroobus@gmail.com.
Yeah, one of my favorite kind of memey things to say is that Bonnaroo really is year-round if you make that kind of community. So we want to hear the stories about how you made that happen. So what we will do is we will take our favorite 4 and put that up for a vote on Twitter. So again, it is at therealroobus@gmail.com. Send us your story by the end of April, and then we'll put it up for votes at the beginning of May. Right, Charlotte?
Yes.
All right, Charlotte, we're going to do Picks of the Week this week. What do you got for us?
Okay, so I have been listening to the newest Tyler Childers album. It came out several months ago. And when it first came out, I was like, this is not for me because it wasn't upbeat like his last albums. And I tend to like faster music versus slower music. The best way I can describe it is his older albums sound more like Zach Bryan. This album sounds more like Jason Isbell.
Oh, really?
I mean, that's the best way I can describe it.
Well, I like that. I respect that when an artist tries different things every album.
Oh, absolutely. But when I first heard it, I was like, this is not my jam at all. But the more I've listened to it, the more I've came to respect it. And the more I'm like, okay, I actually really, really like this. And, I can jam with it when I'm going to work or whatever, and I can just kind of zone out and just kind of be in the zone when I'm driving or whatever. And I really, really like it a lot. So I've just been kind of getting into that lately.
So he plays on Saturday. He's listed 3rd after Odesza and Lil Nas X. I'm going to bet that he probably closes out the Witch stage before Odesza plays.
You think so?
That would be my guess as of today, because we know My Morning Jacket's going to play late night, one or the other, either Witch or What, hopefully What. So, yeah, that's my guess. Tyler Childers is a big name. It closes out Witch is my guess. Because you wouldn't have him open for Odesza. That'd be a little weird.
I could see him opening for My Morning Jacket.
Ooh. Well, we should find out before too long. If history is any guide, we would get the schedule about a month out. So maybe here in about 3 or 4 weeks. I think we should be hearing rumblings of a schedule before too long.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I have gotten a little tea that like one of the big complications is the schedule out in the campgrounds for Outeroo.
Oh, yeah.
I think for Sinru it's a bit easier, but Outeroo is a little bit tougher because you got to run logistics. When you have like big stages like What, Which, and the other and everything, you got stuff there all the time, but they might have to run stuff out and beg borrow still for equipment out in the campground. So I think we should be hearing about that probably mid-May, but that's a total guess on my part. All right, should I get to my pick? All right, I have 2. My first one is that you find a video of Knocked Loose at Coachella, just so you see what's going to be in store for us. It is insanity. So let me tell you this. I don't think you've seen this, Charlotte, because this just happened the other night and we've been busy. You know, like when you go to a show at like one of the tents or Which or whatever, and they have like that big metal barricade that kind of makes like a little section between the stage and you, and there's usually photographers and security guys. They took the barricade away for Knocked Loose.
What?
And people were climbing up on the stage. You saw these influencer types jumping up on the stage and then like crowd diving off of there. So I've seen a lot of people wonder about this. The Ruham guys were in favor of this, that hopefully they will take that barricade away at Rue as well. Do you think that would happen? I mean, I feel like if it was going to happen at Coachella, it could happen at Bonnaroo, right? Or is that too much of a safety risk?
I don't know.
That's a good question.
Yeah, I think that would be too much of a safety risk. But
I wouldn't have thought it.
Coachella,
Yeah, I wouldn't thought they would do it there. So go take a look at that video. Man, that looks like a fun time. I'm going to be there. I know Pondo's going to be there. Somebody's going to get hurt, and it's going to be awesome. All right, second pick. Me and Brooklyn went last week to go see the Dungeons and Dragons movie. It was really cool. And I'm not just saying that because we picked up D&D the past couple of months and started playing again. No, it's actually legit fun. It reminded me a lot of that old movie, A Knight's Tale. You know, the one with Heath Ledger where they play like Queen music and stuff like that? They don't play a lot of new music. There was actually a Tame Impala song in it for one thing. But man, is it fun. It's like one of those fun, goofy, like kind of medieval adventures. And you don't have to know a thing about Dungeons and Dragons to really go play it. You don't have to know the lore and the monsters and everything. It was funny because like Brooklyn had a drink before we went in, and right when it started, she screams, "Roll for initiative!" It was a good time at the theater. Anyway, I enjoyed that movie. It probably won't take long for it to be on video demand. Check it out. It's so cool. Chris Pine is a treasure. He's such a funny guy. He was really great. And that was the first movie I've seen in a long time since those Star Trek movies where I was like, yes, he is absolutely a leading man, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, Sharla agrees.
Oh, my bad.
Sharla agrees for reasons.
I didn't see the movie, but...
Well, me and her did. You should see it when it comes on iTunes or whatever. I think you
I'll
actually
watch
like it a lot. Oh, and the guy that was the Duke of Hastings in that one show on Netflix was in it too. Bridgerton? Yeah, Bridgerton. I couldn't think of the name of it.
I didn't watch that.
I didn't either. But I've heard that a lot of people did watch him in that for reasons.
Yeah.
Charlotte, did you have anything else for this week?
I think that about
Oh
covers
my
it.
gosh.
I was trying to. You're trying to tee me up for something. And
Yeah.
I'm like, ugh.
No, I was trying to get you to say something else instead of like, well, I think that covers it.
What were you trying to get me to say?
I don't know. I'm just messing with you.
You do that all the time. You're like, do you have anything else? And I'll be like, no. You'll say that. You'll say, do you have anything else? And then I'll say something else. And then you'll say something else. Well, do you have anything else?
I do have something else. Shout out to all of our friends that have been hanging out on the Discord. It's been super active.
Oh, please join our Discord. If you want to talk some Bonnaroo.
That place has been popping.
Join our Discord, man. That's the most happening place on the internet right now.
Apparently. Yeah, and if you do get in on that, and if you are in our group, Charlotte will send you an invite to the private group chat. We're starting to plan out a lot of logistics.
Yes.
Who's bringing what we're going to do and stuff like that. Who's bringing who, what time they're getting there.
Yes.
Shout out to JB that's been helping us out with a lot of things on that. I understand you sent him a present.
Yeah, I sent him a Chilbo Swaggins.
Chilbo Baggins?
It used to be called the Chilbo Baggins, but then they had to change the name to the Chilbo Swaggins.
Oh, did Warner Brothers try to sue him or the Tolkien estate?
Know.
What is the deal with that?
I don't know.
I need a new one. How much was that, if you don't mind me asking?
You can get them on Amazon. Well, they start at like 30 and they go up to like 50. Depends on what design you get.
Okay, I kind of need a new one. I might get a new one before
Just wait until Bonnaroo and you can find one on the ground.
Oh, ground scores,
That's how
yeah.
JoJo got his.
Oh, yeah, it was. All right, Charlotte, guess what? I think that does about cover it. I'm just messing with her at this point.
Shush.
Guys, thank you so much. Thank you again to the Daniels for talking EDM with us. Next week is going to be fun. I have a fun end of episode announcement. Next week, the House of Yes will be on. We have some guests. Yes, we have some guests from the House of Yes that are going to be on the show to tell us about what they have planned for Bonnaroo this year.
Oh.
Yeah, I got a call with him Thursday.
Drop that? Okay.
I told you about that. Did you not know?
Yeah, you told me, but.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I've been trying to get them on for a while. So we will hear from them what kind of party that we can expect at their plaza this year. That will be on next week. So that's going to be a fun episode. Make sure to tune in. That's got it.
The link to join our Discord is in all of our bios.
Yeah, thank you, Charlotte. Wait, it's in my bio? It's not in mine. It's on the Rubus one.
Well, then put it in your bio.
Okay, well, I might do that thing. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. That's a good question. Guys, thank you for putting up with our nonsense. Tune in next week to hear from the House of Yes. Get out there and radiate positivity. We'll see you soon.
Bye.